Each uniquely customized program improves the whole person to make every person whole. Come to WION Health Resort. Make your reservation at WION.com.
Vielleicht nur als 5%.
Hello and welcome. You're watching Race to Power with me, Ananya Datta. Let's start talking politics. It seems to be a season of political crises across Europe, France, the United Kingdom and Georgia. They're all facing some tough times. Paris has just lost its Prime Minister, 10 Downing is struggling to execute its power, and Tbilisi is burning with anger. This and much more coming up. It is September all over again in France. The country is without a prime minister, the president is facing calls of resignation, and the parliament is split between the left, centre and right. The delicate political marriage fell apart in Paris yesterday when the far right and the leftist lawmakers joined hands to topple the government. It's not like France hasn't seen no trust votes before, but no French government had lost a confidence vote since the year 1962. So Michel Barnier went down as the shortest serving prime minister in modern French history. His gamble of forcing through a social security financing bill without a vote did not play exactly he expected it to. The government said it was necessary to stabilize France's finances, but the opposition was having none of it. The latest crisis has plunged the Eurozone's second largest economy deeper into a political crisis. People are uncertain about the future and the unions are desperately waiting for the next government.
I think it's a good thing. My opinion is that they didn't respect the contract they made with the French people at the legislative elections, not to ally with the far right, and they're reaping what they sowed. That's my opinion.
If the previous government failed with the budget, it's because they were wrong, so they have to review their document. At the hospital, if we don't apply a bandage correctly, we redo it. We don't just say, oh well, keep it this way. It's the same case here, but it's not up to us to be responsible for the mistakes they do.
This prompts the search for a prime minister all over again. Remember, after the snap parliamentary elections in June, it took the president 2 months to choose Barnier. And as rule goes, a new parliamentary election cannot be held within a year of the last one. The clock is ticking for Paris. It now risks ending the year without a stable government or a 2025 budget. A special measure allows a version of a government shutdown, much like the United States, but that will just kick the can down the road. Eventually, the president, Emmanuel Macron, will have to choose the prime minister, who will then have to present the 2025 budget. All right, for those of you who are just joining in, we are tracking the political crisis that is playing out in Paris as we speak. The Prime Minister, Michel Barnier, just hours ago resigned and handed over his resignation to the President Emmanuel Macron, who, remember, chose the Prime Minister Barnier just about 90 days ago. In fact, interestingly, it took about 2 months for Emmanuel Macron to choose the one person who could who could play the delicate balance between the left, the centre and the right, and Michel Barnier was sought to be that person, but 90 days and the government has fallen down. Now remember, France's government toppled after the opposition parties in the French parliament backed a vote of no confidence against the Prime Minister, who, remember, had used special powers to force through a social security budget just on Monday.
S'il vous plaît, monsieur, juste de vous, sur votre droite. Vous nous faites un petit arrêt, monsieur Migaud?
And to get us in perspective now, Philippe Moret Chevrolet is joining us on this broadcast from Paris, a political analyst and communication expert at the iconic agency in Paris. Mr. Philippe, thank you so much for joining us on this broadcast.
Thank you.
Would you say you saw this coming in Paris?
Yes, we saw this coming. We have been seeing it coming from a few weeks now, because the government was trying to settle an agreement with the far right, what we call the Rassemblement National, and the far right was not a reliable partner because it had its own judicial problems and also a political basis, voters that were not aligned with the fact that this movement would be participating into the government.
So now the big question is what happens next. Of course, everything is in the hands of the president.
In France, yes, the president is supposed to be nominating another prime minister, and there are three possibilities. The first possibility is that he picks again a conservative MP as a prime minister, and this conservative prime minister tries to settle an agreement again with the far right, as they already tried and failed. And maybe it could be successful this time. This is not likely, but it could happen. The other possibility is to have a technical government, what we call a gouvernement technique, a technical government, which will be non-political, not really political, and would try to face the budget problem and fix it with the help of every political party. That would be the second possibility. And the third one is that we would have an agreement with the left this time, which is the other political force in the parliament, and they could have an agreement between the moderate right and the moderate left.
Right, Philip, you're also hearing that the president is going to address the nation this evening. What is it do you think the voters should expect?
Two things, really. The first thing that we should expect is the president to announce that he has chosen another prime minister. The president's entourage has been saying that there would be a quick nomination, so maybe he will announce that he has picked up someone, or he will comment on the fact that he has picked up someone. And the other possibility is for him, to do what the French do best, talk, and try to make it sound reasonable, the situation at least, and maybe try to calm down the financial, business, and other departments that are very worried by the current situation.
All right, Philip. Nice chatting with you. Thank you so much for joining us on this broadcast.
Thank you.
All right, let's shift focus now. Ever since coming to power, UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer's term has been replete with challenges. Starmer has been in office for just 5 months, and today he spoke on a plan for change. Many see the Labour leader's speech as an attempt to relaunch his government. In his address, Starmer revealed plans and laid out 6 targets that his government has promised to deliver on. Here are the 6 targets in Starmer's own words.
1. Higher living standards in every region of the country as we target the highest sustained growth in the G7. So working people have more money in their pocket. 2. Britain rebuilt with 1.5 million new homes. 3. Safer streets. More police on the beat. 4. The best start in life for every child, with a record proportion of 5-year-olds starting school ready to learn. 5. Clean power by 2030. And 6. Waiting lists in our NHS cut. the 18-week target from referral to treatment finally met.
Opposition parties have picked on one major issue missing from Starmer's speech, and that is immigration. Tory leader Kemi Badenoch has slammed the Prime Minister for not tackling immigration as part of the plan, while Reform UK leader Nigel Farage has called the omission a guarantee of economic failure. And to get us the latest, our correspondent John Bevere is joining us live from London. John, how are the people of UK looking at this speech?
Well, I think for a lot of people, they have seen this, like you say, like a relaunch. It's been exactly 5 months to the day since Keir Starmer became the Prime Minister, and it's been a very rocky start to his premiership. The opinion polls have said that he's not doing a very good job when it comes to being in charge. Now, some of that, of course, is because the Labour government have been very honest and said there is not a huge amount of spare money around. These are difficult financial times. They are trying to balance the books. They've been talking about this financial black hole that they've been trying to get out of. So they've introduced some policies that have made them fairly unpopular. So it does seem like this was this attempt to really relaunch themselves and to come up with a new set of very clear targets that, if they can achieve them, would certainly be popular. Things like lowering the waiting list, lowering the amount of time it takes to be seen in hospitals. Things like that are very important to voters, especially older voters who might use hospitals more. So things like that, of course, will make the government very popular. But, of course, the critics say that actually it's missed out some key issues, things like immigration, not enough there about the economy. So we have this kind of balancing act, don't we, in politics, always one side saying this is what they're aiming to do to make things better, the other side pointing out what still needs to be done.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot for that, John. Of course, we see if this quote-unquote relaunch actually works in UK. All right, another political unrest. This one is coming in from Georgia. The country continues to be in the state of an unrest. The opposition parties and their supporters returned for another night of demonstrations against the government's decision to suspend EU membership talks. Thousands of pro-EU supporters took to the streets in Tbilisi for the 8th night in a row. The protesters were seen whistling and waving the Georgian flag as thousands of police personnel stood guard at the parliament.
Today it's dictatorship in Georgia, and me and my friends in my nation gathered here in order to protest this violence and corruption in government, and this is violence which is brutal, and we defend our rights and we can fight against the regime.
We fight for our freedom, and this is the main a fight for us. If we're not going to be the part of the European Union, and if we're not going to be free from the Russian, the oppression, then I don't think that who we're going to be in this world.
Police have used water cannons and tear gas to disperse the protesters every single night, but thousands have returned. And similar scenes were expected tonight as well. Since Thursday last week, over 300 protesters have been detained and at least 100 injured. Police has also raided offices of opposition parties as government intensifies its crackdown on the demonstrators. As the latest wave of protests enter the second week, the country's Prime Minister has vowed to quote-unquote eradicate what he called liberal fascism. The leader said, and I'm quoting, "We will do everything necessary to completely eradicate liberal fascism in Georgia." Following elections on October 26th, Georgia has been at the epicenter of growing political turmoil. The ruling Georgian Dream Party had claimed victory, but the opposition cried foul and contested the verdict. After returning to power less than 2 months ago, the Dream Party has announced fresh presidential elections and suspended talks on its impending membership bid to join the European Union. The party has repeatedly been accused of being pro-Russia, and its stance has garnered reactions from Western nations condemning the unrest in Georgia. Protesters have gathered in front of South Korea's National Assembly as opposition lawmakers say they will vote this weekend to impeach President Yoon Suk-yeol for his attempt to impose emergency law. According to local media reports, South Korea's opposition is aiming for an impeachment vote on Saturday against Yoon. The leader of South Korea's ruling party has asked the president to leave the party, even as he vowed to block an opposition-led impeachment motion. Over his brief declaration of martial law, the ruling People Power Party has said all of its 108 lawmakers will stay united to reject the president's impeachment. The opposition needs 8 ruling party lawmakers to vote with them for the impeachment bill to pass. Meanwhile, President Yoon Suk-yeol has accepted the resignation of Defense Minister Kim Yong-hyun amid growing controversy surrounding his role in Yoon's aborted martial law declaration. If the impeachment bill against Yoon is approved, it could trigger a major political crisis in Asia's 4th largest economy. Yoon's ruling People Power Party is divided over the crisis, but said that it will oppose the impeachment, with 2 years left in Yoon's 5-year term.
Even if martial law is lifted, he cannot avoid treason charges. It was clearly revealed to the entire nation that President Yoon could no longer run the country normally.
On Thursday, people held candlelight vigils in Seoul condemning the president's surprise declaration of martial law.
I found out this morning that martial law had been declared, and I was truly shocked to hear the news. I looked into it further and was relieved to see that it was safely lifted by the morning. Now, being able to enjoy a cup of coffee in the afternoon feels like something to be genuinely grateful for.
Now, the new Donald Trump administration may cause friction, but Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell has played down the likelihood of a conflict. Powell also said that policymakers will proceed with caution in their efforts to cut interest rates further. The Fed's preferred measure of underlying inflation increased on an annual basis in October. According to Powell, the risks to the job market have diminished, and that offers support to Powell's comments on caution on further rate cuts. The Fed policymakers next meet on December 17th and 18th. However, there was no indication from the Fed chair as to whether he supported a rate cut in December. A number of economists predict the Fed to cut rates by a quarter point this month before a pause in January. Previously, Trump and his administration have been negative on the Fed chief. At one point during his first term, Trump wanted to fire Powell. However, when asked about Scott Bessent, the Treasury chief and the President-elect Powell said he is confident in his ability to collaborate within the next government. Powell said, and I'm quoting, "I fully expect that we'll have the same general kinds of relationship, institutional relationships, for example, with the Council of Economic Advisors, but most importantly with the Treasury Department." On Bessent, the Fed chief said, and I'm quoting again, "Confident that I will have the same kind of relationship with him once he is confirmed as I've had with the other Treasury secretaries." Bessent had previously proposed the concept of appointing a shadow Fed chair to weaken the leader's sway over the financial markets. The suggestion was for a shadow leader even before Powell's term, which ends in 2026. However, Powell does not think the incoming administration would pursue that idea. He said, and I'm quoting again, "I don't think that's on the table at all." In India's western state of Maharashtra, all political speculations has finally come to rest. The new Chief Minister and his deputy have finally taken oath. BJP leader and two-time Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis returns to the top job for a third time. Shiv Sena leader Eknath Shinde took oath as the Deputy Chief Minister after spending days mulling over his position in the new government and losing the top seat to his BJP counterpart. Interestingly, Shinde took a detour from the script and paid tribute to Shiv Sena founder Balasaheb Thackeray. The swearing-in ceremony took place at 5:30 p.m. local time at Azad Maidan in India's financial capital of Mumbai. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Home Minister Amit Shah and other top leaders attended the swearing-in ceremony. The elaborate event was also a star-studded one. Several Bollywood A-listers were in attendance, including Shah Rukh Khan, Salman Khan, Ranveer Singh, to name a few. Following the ceremony, a customary cabinet meeting is held. Mayuti Alliance leaders will now determine which party gets what ministry in the state government. Now, our principal correspondent is joining us on the phone line, Disha Shah. Disha, what is the latest you're hearing from Mumbai? Finally, some clarity.
Well, absolutely. After nearly 2 weeks of suspense and a tug of war between the BJP and the Shiv Sena over the top post, we saw today Devendra Fadnavis swearing in as the Chief Minister of Maharashtra, taking an oath today, and followed by Eknath Shinde and Ajit Pawar swearing in as the Deputy Chief Minister. So in that order, retaining the existing 1+2 formula, with the big tweak in favor of Devendra Fadnavis. Remember, he's been the Chief Minister for the third time. And in his first remarks after taking charge, he clearly outlined his vision for the state, declaring that from here on we will work for the development of Maharashtra and we will not stop. In fact, he also seemed to reach out to Eknath Shinde, the Shiv Sena leader, saying that the direction and the speed is the same, only the roles have changed. So we will have decisions in Maharashtra's interest. So now, of course, as the next course of action, it will be important to see that what role, the formation of the government, what portfolios the ministers do get, especially in all of these three political parties.
Absolutely, that's the next thing in course. Disha, thank you so much for joining us and getting us all those updates from Mumbai. We're shifting focus to Pakistan now. In another blow to jailed Pakistani Tehreek-e-Insaf chief and former Prime Minister Imran Khan and 60 others have been indicted in the military headquarters attack that took place on May 9th last year. Anti-terrorism court judge Amjad Ali Shah conducted a hearing for the headquarter attack case at a makeshift court set up in Rawalpindi's Adiala jail. Other PTI leaders including Sheikh Rashid, Umar Ayub and Sheikh Rashid Shafiq, Raja Basharat and Zartaj Gul were also indicted in the case. Following the court's decision, opposition leader in the National Assembly, Umar Ayub, was arrested, while former Punjab Law Minister Raja Basharat was taken into custody immediately after leaving the jail. The court adjourned the case until December 10th. Now, Pakistan Bureau Chief Anas Malik has a report on this.
Well, trouble doesn't seem to end for Imran Khan and his party men. In the latest series of indictments, Imran Khan has now formally been indicted along with 59 others in the case that pertains to the attack at the general headquarters or the military headquarters on the day of his arrest, that was last year on the 9th of May. Now, while the case has further been adjourned until the 10th of December, this essentially adds to the long list of cases in which Imran Khan currently remains incarcerated for over 400 plus days. Anas Malik in Islamabad, Pakistan for WION World is One.
Let's now shift focus to Romania. Authorities in the country allege that there has been a major attempt to interfere in the country's presidential elections using TikTok. The claim, however, has been denied by the social media platform. The development comes as Romania holds its presidential runoff election on Sunday, a key vote for the EU as well as a NATO member bordering Ukraine. The European Commission has ordered the video sharing application to keep internal records and details on how it manages manipulation threats. The latest action comes after Romanian intelligence records were declassified on Wednesday, revealing that Romania's Georgescu's account was boosted by paid influencers ahead of the country's first round of presidential elections. Romania's far-right presidential frontrunner enjoys massive popularity on social networks, especially on the platform TikTok, where his videos have been viewed millions of times. Georgescu, a former senior civil servant, shocked the Eastern European nation when he topped the first round of the presidential elections on November 24th. And with that, we're wrapping up this edition of Race to Power. Thanks for watching with me and Anya Datta. Goodbye.
WION brings you a special business talk show where we bring forth the stories of business leaders.
From breakthrough technologies to visionary leadership, we will unlock the trends, the tactics, and dive into the minds of the industry's most influential leaders.
WION brings you this special series to uncover what drives them in a candid talk show, WION Business Masters.
Two South African opposition parties asked the country's top court to revive impeachment proceedings against President Cyril Ramaphosa over a scandal where more than $500,000 in cash was stashed in a couch at his ranch and then stolen. Outgoing US President Joe Biden visits Angola, fulfilling a promise made in late 2022 to visit sub-Saharan Africa. It is also Biden's first trip to the continent since becoming president. And designers give new life to second-hand clothing as Ghana's capital drowns in fast fashion waste. That's this week on World of Africa. At these times on WION, World is One.
This week on Check It Out, we show you how London's Heathrow Airport is going the AI way. We also give you a sneak peek into what visitors can expect at the Electric Dreams exhibition and find out how AI is helping amateur tennis players become the next tennis legend. All this and much more on WION, World is One at these times.
The stress of our world can take a toll on our physical and emotional health. Here, in New York's Catskill Mountains, lies a luxurious place of healing called WION Wellness Center. The WION Wellness Center provides 500,000 square feet of natural methods to manage diabetes, hypertension, chronic pain, obesity, depression, anxiety, and other conditions. We use the traditions of centuries-old natural science from India, yoga, Ayurveda, acupuncture, and naturopathy in personalized programs that help you take charge of your own health. A minimum 5-day stay is recommended for best results. Book now at yo1.com.
Ready to dive into your daily dose of news?
Bringing you what's trending in the West and all that's setting trends in the East.
And all of this served up with a side of insightful banter.
We don't just bring you the latest stories.
We bring you your talking points for the day.
And while you do that, from the busy streets of New York, I will provide you with deeper insights on the developments through the course of the day in the US.
And I will be here at the WION headquarters, getting you all the action from the universe of sport. All that you need to know about your favorite teams and players right here.
The show that keeps you ahead of the global curve. A conversation you'd want to be a part of.
A place where news becomes an engaging exchange.
We bring you stories that impact your present.
This is World DNA.
Join the conversation.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
Well, thanks for staying with us. You're watching WION World is One. My name is Mohammed Saleh, and let's start this broadcast by taking a quick look at what is making headlines at this hour. Now, months after the ouster of the Sheikh Hasina government, Bangladesh replaces Sheikh Mujibur Rahman from its currency notes. The Bangladeshi bank is quoted as saying that it is printing some new notes with the features of the July student uprising. Amidst the offensive by the Islamist-led rebel forces against President Bashar al-Assad's troops, Chinese embassy has told its citizens to leave Syria as soon as possible. Now, in a tit-for-tat measure, Moscow closes the Polish consulate in St. Petersburg after Poland has said that it will close Russia's remaining consulates if Moscow's acts of what it calls as terrorism continue. The OPEC oil cartel and allies agree to extend supply cuts for 3 months to avoid sharp drop in prices. Additional voluntary adjustments of 2.2 million barrels per day are to continue until the end of March 2025. The European Commission monitoring social network TikTok over possible Russian interference in Romania's election. The TikTok has said that it is also cooperating with Brussels. In the wake of the collapse of the French government, the public sector workers gather in Nantes for a one-day strike called by the civil service unions. Now, warning by Britain's head of defence that China poses a real nuclear threat to the West ahead has set the proverbial cat amongst the pigeons. The British Admiral has said that there's word that China's nuclear arsenal will be on par with that of the Americans and the Russians by as early as 2030. That's just 6 years away from now. And that a third nuclear age is in the offing. Our next report gets more details.
The Admiral termed it plain speak on threats faced and responses needed. He defined it as battle lines for this third nuclear age beyond the Cold War and non-proliferation eras. Russia, China, Iran, North Korea on one side, the Western Bloc, the US, NATO, UK on the other.